Both Ace and Luffy would stand back to back as they defended against the onslaught of attacks from Crocodile, as they battled on top of the palace walls above the castle of the Kingdom of Alabasta, while far down below in the plaza square and in the streets, the rebel forces fought against the royal forces of Alabasta. Two sides stoked in the fires of war by the cause of the warlord Crocodile, who was seeking to take Alabasta, its secrets, and its treasures all for himself. Luffy and Ace would work together, protecting Vulko from Crocodile's attacks. Even now, Luffy had always been able to keep up with Ace, or rather, it was now the other way around. It was Ace that had to work to keep up with Luffy. Even when they were kids back in Fuchsia Village, despite being older, stronger, and faster, Luffy, even while his power was coming to him, always had the tenacity and the spirit. Even if he lacked the skill, he always had the heart to keep himself in the thick of the fight. No matter what you did to him, he could never be deterred. He had a spirit all of his own. And now that fighting spirit was on full display as he swung his trident true. Ace would respond with the ferocity of his fire, the power of the Mira Mira no Mi. As for Vulko, he was channeling his own inner spirit, the power of Haki, infusing it into his trident and into his arms. Armament Haki. This time he wouldn't miss, as they continued their fight against Crocodile. Meanwhile, down below, Nico Robin had finally come across what she had been looking for: the robe poneglyph. Of course, Cobra, much like every other king of the throne of Alabasta, had kept the poneglyph hidden in secret. But now that the devil child herself had come into its possession, it was only natural that he would oblige. Wars were fought for the poneglyphs, and the world government itself, they were very keen on these things. Of course, for someone who was not of Atlantean blood to be able to decipher and to even read from the poneglyph, that was considered extraordinary in and of itself, and that alone would get you the death sentence, no questions asked. But as Robin looked over the inscription of the poneglyph, gaining all of the knowledge that she needed, they would soon learn they were not alone. Crocodile was very skilled with his powers, so much so that he could even leave a clone of himself to fight against his attackers, while the real Crocodile made his way down below, following behind Miss All Sunday, aka Nico Robin. Well, it seems you started the party without me. Were you able to get what you needed? The information that you're looking for is not on this poneglyph. Is that so? So it can't tell me the location of the ancient weapon? So that is what you're after, Cobra said. But of course, Your Highness, we all know that Alabasta is home to many secrets. Even you yourself and your royal family, you are also descendants of the ones who came from heaven. That may be, but we gave up our status in the heavens a long time ago. You forsook the heavens to live on the earth among the swine. I have never met such a foolish man like you. You call foolish, but what you gain in wisdom, you could never achieve in luxury. The only thing you need to gain in this world is power and money and wealth, and all that comes along with it. As long as you have that, all else It's secondary. You could gain all the power in the world, Crocodile, and you would still be a fool. Yeah. That's in the eye of the beholder, but you still have something of value, Your Highness. This poneglyph and your life. Right now, you're committing an act of terror against your people. Your forces fight in the streets because of your lies. Your sins will not go unpunished, Crocodile. The blood that has been spilled in Alabasta, it cries out even to my ancestors. The blood spilled from the lies of a wicked man that sows the seeds of betrayal and treachery. Those are whom you keep company with. Is that supposed to hurt my feelings? In case you forgot, history is written by the winner. And what will history remember you as, Crocodile? As the man that overthrew the tyranny of the Nefeltari family, who killed the evil king and set its people free. And for that, the people will be grateful. They will turn over Alabasta into my hands, and I will lead them into a prosperous future. Just then, the ceiling would collapse as Luffy, Vulko, and Ace followed after. The sand clone had been dealt with, and now there was only the real Crocodile left to face. But they would not be alone, as more other guests would arrive as well. 2 of them dressed in black, members of the Black Manta Corps, Jess and David Hyde. You're coming with us, Atlanteans. Jess would take the lead as he fought against Vulko. David, his son, following close behind as he engaged with Luffy, while Ace would continue his fight against Crocodile, and Nico Robin would follow suit. Cobra would attempt to aid where he could, but he was not much of a combatant, especially in his current age. For Crocodile, all of this was a mess. The Black Manta Corps, they were supposed to have taken care of his little problem, but now here they were, sticking their nose in his business. He figured that the best thing he could do was destroy everyone and everything. He could bring this whole underground cavern on itself. It was known as the Tomb of the Kings of Alabasta, a place where the dead would rest, buried under the great sands of the kingdom. A proper fitting to bury away all of his problems, all of his troubles. Though that plan would be a lot easier said than done, as Ace would still chase after him. You just don't know when to quit, do ya? Quitting's not in the code of the Whitebeard pirates. I wouldn't go talking so high and mighty about Whitebeard. Word is, he isn't doing too well these days. I wouldn't worry about that. Even in his condition, the old man could still kick your ass like it was nothing. He's a pirate that's past his prime. If I came face to face with Whitebeard now, I'd wipe the floor with him. Like he'd ever waste time with the likes of you. That's why I'm around. If you wanted to get to him, you'd have to get through me first. You say that like it's a challenge, kid. Vulko and Luffy would find themselves fighting against a pair of Black Manta soldiers. Nico Robin would be attempting her escape along with King Cobra. Cobra knew that these were the ones that helped his daughter. He wanted to aid them as best he could. He had already rigged for this underground to be destroyed by self-destruction if need be, a way of burying the poneglyph and all of its secrets. Nico Robin had already read it, so she had gotten what she had needed from it, and her alliance with Crocodile had now run its course, so it was wise for her to escape before the situation became impossible. Luffy and Vulko, battling against the members of the Black Manta Corps. They would work together in unison against the father and son duo. Both sides would be evenly matched in terms of skill and power, with the older of the two duos facing off, while the young guns would have their battle. They could feel the ground underneath them starting to shake. It was the self-detonations. It looked like if they hadn't acted quickly, they were all going to be buried down here. Just then, the underground tomb would start to be flooded with water as the ceiling would begin to collapse. Using his advantage with his haki, Vulko would take advantage at the last second, as he and Luffy would switch places. He knew better than anyone that in order to take out your opponent, you attack their weak spot. It was a gamble, and even as a warrior, even Vulko would admit he wasn't proud of it. But he now set his sights on David. Jess, seeing this, would move to defend his son. This was the opening that Vulko was looking for. As he grabbed hold of his trident, he jammed it into the shoulder blade of Jess, launching him across the room against the wall. Just then, debris would fall from above, crushing him underneath his legs, pinning him down as the water began to rise. David would immediately rush over to his father, trying his best to move the large hunk of rock. But even with his strength and with the added strength given to him by his suit, he was unable to do so. Dad! Dad! Luffy, we need to get out of here, or we're going to be crushed underneath. As both Luffy and Vulko were preparing to leave, David would call out to them. Wait! Wait! Please! Please, you have the power to save him! Please, he's going to die! If that is his fate, then so be it. Are you really that cold-hearted that you would just leave him like this? In my lifetime, I came across the Black Manta Corps many a days. Do you know what your people have done to mine? The women and the children that you've slaughtered. The husbands that you dragged away in chains. You destroyed them. You destroyed our home. My home. The very sight of you disgusts me. You perpetuate evil into the world. And now you ask for mercy. You truly are pathetic. As Luffy looked to Vulko, Vulko was prepared to turn away. He'd never seen him so angry. Of course, for some reason, Luffy just couldn't. The water was starting to rise up and soon they would be covered. Only the sun would be able to escape at this point. By the time Luffy and Vulko made it back up, before he even had a chance to, Luffy turned back around, plunging under the waters. Even with their helmets on, it would do just little good. The last words he could give to his son was to survive. That this was not a place for him to die, and he would not allow himself to be killed in such a way. Luffy came back to aid them, but David would immediately shoot him back with the laser beams of his helmet. He attempted to use what power he could to cut through the rubble, but it wasn't going to be enough. There was no time. And for Jess, he had already made his decision. The years that he had spent in the Black Manticore serving alongside his own father. A man who had once been kidnapped by pirates, taken away for ransom and left for dead. He survived because he killed every pirate on that ship and escaped. He came to the realization that the only person you could depend on in this world is yourself. To rely on yourself, care only for yourself and those who were loyal to you. And somewhere along the way, he found love and thus had a son. And Jess himself would also be blessed with a son. Of course, no one wants the relationship to end like this, but he had made his choice. Using the self-destruct in his helmet, he wasn't going to allow himself to drown. Instead, he'd go out on his own terms. By the time David would make it out, so too would Luffy. He took off his helmet as he looked back at the cave-in of the underground catacomb. As he looked to Luffy in that moment, as much as he wanted his revenge, now was not the time. The only thing he could carry was the blade that his father had given him, the Sea Prism dagger. With that, he would descend into the chaos down below as he escaped. Luffy and Volko would then turn their attentions to Crocodile, who was making his final push against Ace. Together, master and student would attack in unison. Fully drenched in water, they found themselves impervious to Crocodile's attack. Luffy would create the opening as Volko would finally strike Crocodile down, defeating him with the finishing blow of his hockey-infused fist, as well as a hockey-infused Triton strike that Luffy had thrown to him as he left his down in the destructive catacomb. Meanwhile, Zoro and the few Straw Hats that remained, along with Vivi and Pell, would make their way to the center square clock tower, where the bomb was set to explode, killing many of innocent lives. Pell would fly into the air to grab hold of the bomb, but Zoro would demand that he follow suit. This was his time. Using the power of the Green Lantern ring that had been given to him, he would form a barrier around the bomb as Pell would fly them both high into the sky above. Pell would continue to ascend as quickly as he could, while Zoro carried the bomb close behind. As the clock was getting close to strike the detonation, Zoro, with a mighty heave, would fling it as far into the air as he could, shooting it with all of his strength to push it as far away as possible, till it seemed like it had reached the height of the sun itself. Zoro would then construct a shield around them both as they went careening as far away as possible from the explosion. Everyone's attention would be caught by the loud bang in the sky above, a light that seemed to give off the radiance of yet another sun, as if there were two of them in midair. The light flashing would catch everyone's attention as the fighting would begin to cease. And then, just as suddenly, the sounds of war would cease. The clattering of swords, the shooting of guns. Vivi had made her way to a high position as she called out to her people, begging them to lay down their arms. She asked for mercy, for the sake of her countrymen, for her people, to not allow themselves to be torn apart by the lies. And just then, as if the heavens had answered their plea, for the first time in years it began to rain. a downpour began to wash upon Alabasta, as if the sins were being cleansed from the land. There was a joyous shout among comrade and soldier alike. As they stood together, they watched as the deluge would begin to downpour. And upon Alabasta, they were now given deliverance. Over the next few days, a time of restoration would begin. Crocodile's lies, his secrets, would now be exposed to the public. The people of Alabasta now coming to learn that their prized champion was more of a false prophet. And worse, he had come dangerously close to dividing their kingdom and taking it for himself. Smoker and Tashigi would take arrest of Crocodile, along with any other member of Baroque Works they could get their hands on. Their operations were now coming to an end, and Crocodile's status as a warlord had now officially been revoked. The Straw Hats would also take time to recover, as they were hidden away in the royal palace, a sign of protection and thanks by Vivi and her father. There would be a time of feasting, a time of celebrating, a time of rest and relaxation, before eventually there would come time for them to depart. They couldn't stay in Alabasta for too long, of course. There were still marine presence, and they didn't want the royal family to be charged with any form of collusion. Of course, for Vivi, this did sadden her. To the people that helped her so much, she could never have gotten where she did without them. And yet they could never be given the credit of heroes because of how they chose to live their lives, because of them flying their Jolly Roger proudly. To the world, they would always be seen as criminals. It's no big deal, Luffy would say. How is it no big deal? Vivi said. Despite everything, you helped me. Yeah, because you're a friend. What? A friend helps a friend in need. It's that simple. You don't have to be a hero to help someone. Besides, I don't want to be anyone's hero. It's not what I came out here to do. I came out here to follow my dream. I'm going to be the one that conquers the Grand Line. And once I make my way to the New World, I will find the One Piece and become king of the pirates, along with the sea and everything else that's out there. You want to be king of the pirates, Vivi said. And you're not daunted by that task. What? It means you're not perturbed, Luffy, Volko would say. He's never really been one for big words, Vivi. But he has the heart. And of anyone, I believe he will achieve this. So you can say that you had the privilege of hosting the king of the pirates in your domain. Vivi smiled as the Straw Hats would say their goodbyes, boarding the Going Merry as they prepared to sail out. Vivi wanted to call to them to wave, but her attendant would dissuade her. You still have an image to uphold, Your Highness. You cannot show that you are colluding with the Straw Hats. Cobra would join her as well. I know that your heart is saddened, my daughter. You wish you could join them, don't you? I do. But my duty is to my people. I cannot leave my home. You're as wise as your mother, and just as beautiful, inside and out. You bear the true spirit of Alabasta and its people, and I could not be more proud of you. And while you may not leave now, I can assure you that much work is to be done, not just in Alabasta, but can you hear it? A slow roar is beginning to emanate all around the world. Out there, truth and destiny lie before us. And when the time comes, your destiny will be revealed. My destiny? You may be a daughter of the Nefeltari, and you may be a princess of the sands. But I can tell you, your destiny does not just lie in this country, and not just in the world. You are also a daughter of the sea. And in time, it will be revealed to you of your nature and your heritage. Cobra looked on as the Going Merry would sail off. That boy, there is more to him than meets the eye. I can see it in his spirit. The seas answer to him. They are his domain. And one day, he will rise to the throne and claim it. The oceans, everything that dwells within them, they will answer to his call. For he will be the king of the sea. The Straw Hats would not be alone in their endeavors. For one, a new member would join the crew. As her arms wrapped around everyone, an extra arm twirling away at a familiar straw hat. It's you! Usopp said. What are you doing here? Nami said. Zoro prepared himself. Now, everyone. I didn't come for a fight. I believe we got off on the wrong foot is all. And I've come to make amends. My name is Nico Robin. And I would like to join your crew, Captain. Robin looked down towards Luffy, who kept a serious look on his face. He walked towards her as he reached out for his straw hat, and she kindly gave it back to him. You want to join my crew, huh? Okay. Of course, everyone else was taken aback by this, but Vulko understood. It didn't need to be explained. Still, there were those who would keep their guard up, those who didn't have much of a guard, especially around beautiful women. But all the same, a new addition to the Straw Hat family as they continued their journey into the Grand Line. As for Ace, his accommodations would be met by King Nefeltari. He would be given a new personal boat and attendants that would point him in the right direction. They had the best scouts in the world. Scouts that would lead him directly where he needed to go. It was nice to play hero with you, bro. But now it's time to get back to business. This is the direction you'll need to go. And this is an eternal log pose. And we have provided you provisions. Wow, the red carpet treatment. I feel welcome. It is only a small token of our gratitude. Though we will never be able to express it publicly, we are indebted to you, Fire Fist Ace. Save all that. If anyone ever asks, Fire Fist Ace had nothing to do with the saving of your country. All that can go to Straw Hat Luffy, the Aquaman. The Aquaman? Yeah, he's aiming to become king of the pirates. Aquaman? He has a thing for the water, and he can talk to fish. Talk to fish? Anywho, thanks for the heads up. Ace would give a salute as his firing boat sailed off into the sea. I've put this off for long enough. But now, Teach, I'm coming for you. Meanwhile, the surviving members of the Black Manta Corps had made their way back to the Black Manta submarine at the docks. David arrived, but when they saw that their captain was not with him, they knew what had happened. Baleep, 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 baleep. Speak. I see. A private line. So who am I speaking with, 0 or 9? Figures. The captain is dead. Authorization. David Hyde. Vice Captain. Thank you. Yes, I understand. David would hang up the Din Din Mushi. The few members of the crew would ask what they were going to do now. It's simple. We head to an outpost, we regather our supplies, and we prepare. Prepare for what, sir? The mission's not over. We were given a task, and we are going to complete it. The heads of Vulco Nudius and Monkey D. Luffy. They're the ones we need to capture, dead or alive. But sir, are you sure you want to, and what? We never turned down a contract. This is what was given to us. We see it through. But don't you need time to rest, sir? I mean, you've been through a lot. There's no way you're at 100%. Oh, I'll rest. I'll rest when I put his Triton and that dumbass straw hat on my wall. I'll rest when I present his severed head on a silver platter to the Gorosei. I'll rest when I bury him and his sorry-ass crew in the bottom of the sea. That's when I'll rest. But until then, I won't stop. Monkey D. Luffy, you're mine. This concludes One Piece King of the Sea. What If Luffy Was Aquaman? Season 2, Part 8, the Season 2 finale. And with that, this officially concludes Chapter 2 of Anime DC Comics, Journey into the Infinite Earths. For First and foremost, thank you to everyone who has been supportive of this series and have been supportive of anime DC Comics over the summer. I thank you for sticking with me through the ups and downs, the changes, the last minute arrangements. It really means a lot to me to have the fans that I do, to have the people who have stuck around for as long as they have, who have been fans of my work, fans of what I've been building here. And now that we've finally gotten through it, now that it's finally done, I can say that I am still now as motivated as ever. I can't wait to get to Anime DC Comics again next year. A lot of returning stories, some new stories as well. I got a lot of stuff being cooked up, a lot of stuff that I really think you guys are going to enjoy. A lot of cool concepts, cool stories. And like I say, I can't do it without you. You make the channel grow, you make the core grow. With this story in particular, I do apologize if it felt like I was just summarizing a lot of times. With a series like One Piece, as long as it is, I don't want to just rehash stuff that happens in the timeline that's canon, but I do want to flesh out new concepts as well as we continue with this story. This is going to be a grand story, probably going to be the longest of any story that I do on this channel, just with the nature of how big One Piece is as a series. So there's definitely going to be a lot for you guys to look forward to, especially when we get into 2025. Definitely going to be having a lot planned for that. This series is going to be coming back as well. I'm hoping to do a movie. And when I say do a movie, I'm basically going to take one of the arcs of One Piece and I'm going to turn them into movies just so that I can get through it faster, so that we're not doing 8, 9, 10 parts for every single arc, but instead we break them up into movie format so we can kind of get through it faster. So that's kind of the mindset and the idea going forward, especially with a lot of the DC stories. So that's definitely something to watch out for. Next week, we are going to be taking a break. Now, that doesn't mean that videos aren't going to be coming out, because they are, but I am going to be taking a break to kind of just decompress and prepare, because when we come back, we're going to be hitting it full throttle from the end of September all the way to December. It's just going to be nonstop, full throttle. I'm talking double uploads, Saturday videos, because in total, we have 13 stories left to do that I have scheduled. We have 13 stories between now and the end of the year that we have to get through. For me personally, I have to get through them. That includes original stories, and that includes the conclusion for part 3. Well, not part 3, for phase 3 of anime and Marvel Comics. So definitely a lot to look forward to. I thank you all. Like I say, can't do it without you. You make the channel grow, you make the core grow. But that's going to do it for the end of this video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.